What's going on, everybody? We are with Jimmy Moore. We're riding in the car, and I just want to do a follow-up video with him. We did part one. We looked at a property, a land that you had bought and you had developed, at least to the point of getting it built, and now you're about to sell that. We take you guys through the entire process of how you did that. That's in part one, so you can click right here. I'm going to link that up right there. And then part two, we just kind of did a city council meeting.
Yep.
And your final plat got approved. So if you want to see a small town city council meeting, you can go and check that out. Click that link right there, and just kind of finally want to wrap up with Jimmy and just kind of, Jimmy, you do so much. You're not just developing. You flip houses. You've been doing real estate for quite some time. You actually told me on the way up here that you love real estate.
I do.
So kind of just take us through what you're up to, kind of what you have your toe dipped into real estate wise.
So I'd say best way for me to describe it, kind of starting with your comment that I'd made, man, I just love real estate. I love dirt all the way through developing a neighborhood. I love flipping homes, and I love new construction, whether it's a scattered site, new build, or a neighborhood, a 5-unit neighborhood or a 60-unit neighborhood. So really what my model is really finding where the opportunities are and making sure the juice is worth the squeeze. Sometimes the answer is no, and I pass on it. We've talked a little bit about, kind of business models and my goal, and I made this commitment about 5 years ago with my business. And this is just Jimmy Moore, as a real estate developer and investor and builder. What I do, I have some filters that I use, whether I say yes to a project or no to a project. And I'm creating a lifestyle business where I can put my family first, put the people that are important to me first, but also grind and work hard to provide for them in the short run, but also create a legacy in the long run. So that's kind of my filter. So everything I do has a purpose because it may fund something else that may be more of a long-term play. So like the flips, they're great, but I'm not doing the flips to make an income. I'm doing the flips to invest more in long-term real estate or to have more investable cash to buy a piece of dirt that I need to sit on to take it through entitlement. The ultimate goal for me is 15 years down the road that I have a pretty clear picture on, that I'm using the opportunities today to build towards that. So that could change year to year. I could say something this year that I'm interested in or more excited about that next year will change, and it all hinges on the opportunities that are in front of us and how I'm progressing towards that goal.
So your ultimate goal is buy and hold real estate, though?
That's right. That is the ultimate goal, is to own income generating assets debt-free.
Okay, and where do you mind kind of sharing with us, and it can be a little bit bigger picture if you don't want to get into the details, but where are you today on that journey? When did you get started, and where are you today on that journey?
Yeah, so I got started really in 2018 as full-time. I started buying rental property in college. I took about a 15-year detour into another industry, so owned some other businesses and exited from that industry, sold that business in 2017. Really took a little bit of a professional time out intentionally. Sought the advice of mentors, the people that were around me, got really still because I knew that the next move was going to be the move. So in 2018, I started what I'm doing today. Obviously, between 2018 and 2025, we've had some pretty major economic events. So there's been a couple scenarios where I've taken 3 steps forward and 5 back. But that's life in general. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, but primarily real estate. You gotta anticipate the unexpected around that next corner. So I'm on pace to hit my goal, but I have a very heightened sense of urgency every day, every week.
Why is that?
Time's precious, man. We can make more money. You hear that often, but it is so true. I've lived it firsthand multiple times. You can make more money, but you cannot make more time. And I think, for me personally, when I hit about 2 years ago in age, for some reason, it's different. It's different. Where time is such a precious commodity. I just have this heightened sense of urgency and awareness to get to where I want to go.
And that's through where you want to go is income producing assets. Why real estate? You mentioned, you had the businesses, you sold the businesses, you had that long detour. But what made you settle in 2018? What made you settle on real estate?
Yeah, so, I'd say the first thing is real estate was kind of my first passion before I knew it was. I started buying properties and, I was 20 years old. I remember watching infomercials on how to buy properties, So I guess I had that little bit of a spark back then. But really, when I had enough real world experience under my belt, I started thinking of what are industries that are going to get, they're going to be obsolete in 10 years, and what industries can be disrupted. And so when I was kind of going through my process of filtering that out, real estate is something that it is just not going to go away. It's a sustainable model. People have to have places to live. So if you can tap into that, where people have to have places to live and you can have safe, affordable housing, to me, that is a sustainable business model that I could really build a strong foundation on. I didn't want to get into an industry where I spent 5 to 10 years building something only to have it, be disrupted by AI or technology or something else. And I felt like real estate, dirt, housing was that thing for me.
So the ultimate goal is buy and hold real estate, asset or income producing assets. Although you still develop, you still flip, and this is all just to generate cash in order to buy more assets?
That's right.
Okay.
That is the goal.
So what made you decide that was kind of like the business model, that we need to flip houses to generate cash in order to buy these assets, or we need to develop, or we need to do whatever it might be? Why was that a part of the initial?
I would say this. Early on, when I had zero money, I would go out and raise capital. And the way that I would structure our capital stacks to our investors, and it was their money and their exposure, so I had no problem with this, but you're giving up a pretty large piece of the pie going out and raising capital to other people's money. And so, really the mindset is well, I'm going to stack my own cash, so I'm not dependent on raising that capital. I raise the capital only if I need to and I want to, but I don't have to. So to me, it was kind of rewriting the business model a little bit, and what are things that I could do to stack my own cash and my own capital to get to that personal goal of where I want to be. And I've got that date on a calendar, and I'm very clear about what that looks like. And just with, I'll just be real with it, with the economy and setbacks and curveballs. From COVID, the only thing, the only constants change, and that's really going to still continue to be the case. We're dealing with tariffs and some other things right now that I'm paying attention to, but I can't necessarily predict. But I'm expecting there to be more change. But the more cash you can stack, the less dependent you are on other people's money, the more control that you have. And it basically puts me on that trajectory to hit that goal. Removes the variables,
For sure. Jimmy, where were you in life when you started in real estate? Go back to 2018 for me. You had just sold a business.
Yeah.
Where were you in life?
It's an interesting question, and I'll just answer it by, I was at a major fork in the road. I was in a good place in life. I've got a great family, a loving family, all the things, great wife, we're a team together, great family. So had all those things, but I was at this crossroad, which really was kind of the coolest time, but also probably the most frustrating time of my life, because as I didn't know what that looked like. Today, I have that clear picture of what that looks like in 10 years, very clear, written down. I didn't have any of that then. So, it was a pretty big fork in the road. I would say that it was also probably my darkest season, but also looking back on it, the most like beautiful season of life. Just totally kind of surrendered everything to God, and trusted and just took one step, and had great mentors that I surrounded myself with. But there was definitely some dark times. I don't want to overlook that. And look, there's people going through that all the time. Doesn't matter what industry. So I have a little bit of a heightened sense of awareness for that today. And a lot of what I do is, purposely done to take experiences that I've been through in life to help others, because there's been people that went through it before me to help me. So a lot of what I do, I'm constantly have my head on swivel looking for other people that are maybe going through that same season today that I was in 2018. And, giving someone an encouraging word, making a connection for them, just looking someone in the eye and telling them that you believe in them and that they're doing a great job. People don't say that enough to people. I've had some almost complete strangers say those words to me that have created great relationships and mentors to this day. So I'm using that season that I went through to now trying to identify people and help as well.
So you sold a business though, right? Prior to that.
That's right.
What was it about that time that made it challenging or made it like a fork in the road? What, and I don't know all the details. I don't know how much you want to get into, but selling a business, might have a little bit of cash. Was it just that you just didn't know what you were going to do next?
Yeah, I mean, the particular industry that I was in, I saw it going away and changing, and it's proven to this day that that's happening. And so it was a little bit of cash, but it was not a lot of cash. So, it was kind of one of those things. To specifically answer the question, I felt like in that season of life, I felt like I had to have it all figured out, and I didn't. And that was really probably the nucleus of the dark times, because I'm looking around me at, my peer group, and everybody seems to be climbing whatever ladder they're climbing. And I felt like I really kind of fell back down to ground floor. But that's what makes it beautiful, because essentially I did. And I forced that fall to knock the dust off. And I knew whatever I climbed next, I wanted it to be the thing. So, but yeah, I think that was it. I really felt like I had to be further along and have more figured out at that point in time. And I think that's an ongoing thing we have probably all struggle with at whatever point in life, but it was a lot different. Looking back now, 7-8 years ago, was that fair? Is that a fair assessment? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, definitely. But I also knew I had to get out of that other industry to find the space that I wanted to spend the next 20 years in. And so I call it a professional timeout. And I had to force it. Do you, obviously there's so much uncertainty, right? Yeah. So that's probably where some fear creeps in. That's right. Yeah. Is real, are you where you are today? Did you envision that even 7 years ago? I feel like you're pretty far along in 7 years. I see people in real estate for 5 or 7 years, and it doesn't seem like they get as far as you've gotten to this point. Are you satisfied with where you are? I will say yes. I'm satisfied, but I'm extremely hungry. And again, time's so precious. Like, I'm just not wasting hours or days. So, but I am satisfied on the path and the trajectory, yes. And a lot of the last 5 to 7 years is honing the craft, building the team, and kind of pulling it all together. And I would say right now, I'm extremely happy with the team that's in place. Which has been a bumpy road over the last 5 years. But the team that is in place today to support what we're doing today and where we're going, it is a phenomenal team. And very thankful for all the people that are in place and doing their part. So, yes. Yeah. So I want to talk about the way you have things structured and kind of what you're doing specifically. I asked you on the way down here to kind of, just so I could understand a little bit more, because I've known you for
about 7 years now, since
Yeah.
6, 7 years since you kind of got going in real estate. And I remember some of the first meetings, you were just trying to network. You were just trying to meet as many people as you could.
That's right.
Take us back to 2018. What are some of those first steps you took? Obviously, you weren't brand new to real estate, but you were new to getting back into it. What were some of those first steps you took to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I would say the first steps, really just kind of blocking and tackling, grabbing a couple mentors, kind of learning how they got off the ground. I mean, I started going out, again, mentioned, didn't have any cash. So anything that I bought, I had to go raise money, and there was a pitch involved in everything, but yet you were, trying to build out a sustainable model, but it all hinged on you getting funded. And just started buying lots. At the time, had a business partner, and we just put our heads down and started buying lots.
Why did you start doing that?
It was really, to me, the path of least resistance. Particular part of
build a house was the path of least resistance.
Well,
wow.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I definitely could not have done a development at that point in time. But
I was just thinking like a flip.
Yeah,
wholesale. So a lot of people are doing just like kind of try to grab some easy cash.
Yeah, I guess it's all perspective, because even to this day, new construction is so much easier than flipping. It's just you control all the points. You got, So, anyways, but I still look at new construction as a path of least resistance to. So we just started buying lots and building homes. I remember like it was yesterday, the very first one. I could take you to it and show you where I was standing the day that the last nail went in the framing package.
Where was it?
So that was actually in Hueytown. And I'd be lying to say if I wasn't nervous at that point in life. But you get one under your belt, you get two under your belt, and probably close to 200 new construction homes, and maybe about 35 or so flips, and then 3 developments. You've kind of been through a couple cycles and seen a few things, so those nerves, really are no longer. But yeah, path of least resistance, just started going, and then, hey, could we build 5 homes? Well, if we can build 5 homes, could we build 10 homes? If we can build 10 homes, what would it take to build 20? And really building the team, the systems and the processes, leveraging technology, is really what we've been working on. So I'm very happy with where that is today with the team that's in place.
What were some of the more challenging things for you in the past 5-6 years in regards to building a team?
So in regards to building the team, I've always been a very big advocate on profiling. I just believe with looking back on 20 years now of entrepreneurship, zebra doesn't lose its stripes, and people are who they are, and sometimes it takes you a while to figure that out. So I really believe in personality profiles. I put a lot of weight in those, and not only just to kind of weed people out, but also leveraging people's strengths. There's oftentimes a lot of people don't know what their strengths are. So if they fit your piece of the puzzle, you can actually tap their strengths and teach them how to be better at what their God-given talents are. So I not only use it as like a team building tool, but also building leaders and creating just better people. And hopefully, they go on to another organization and even be a better person. But challenges, I would say, is just maybe getting outside of that process. And I want to say taking a chance on people, because I do believe in taking flyers every now and then. But looking back on it, the challenges were, it was not a right fit, but I was trying to force it to be a fit, and I really knew in the beginning. But they were telling me what I wanted to hear. And that ultimately really never works out.
Yeah.
So that would be one of the biggest challenges on team building.
So when you start hiring and you start finding people to help you build houses, whether it's contractors, builders, whatever it might be, start searching for people to hire. Take me through how you were able to manage and you were able to the money part of it. How do you pay somebody when you're getting paid in large chunks, mainly, typically many months out? How do you keep somebody on payroll when that, and then I know you were funded, you've mentioned, bringing in lenders and bringing in, money partners. But just take me through that kind of that push and pull, that give and take of I've got to make payroll, and then we've got like these large amounts of money that are going to come into our account at some point. We just don't know possibly when.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is the biggest thing. And I would say that in the beginning, it was just a lot of hoping and praying and not a lot of planning. And ultimately that can bite you. And over time, I would say I just got better at making sure that I had one or two people around me that controlled cash. And I have this process in place today where I have a cash sheet. Nothing gets done in any part of the business, whether it's a flip, a development, a new build, without it being tracked. And then I believe in setting long-term goals. I believe in annual and quarterly planning, but I look at cash really no longer than 90 days. So I know I can pull it up and I can forecast with actual active projects where we're at, what money we have in the bank, what expenses are, what's coming in and when. And then, I have scheduled meetings kind of throughout the week where I'm constantly talking through that and anticipating if something is going to move. You've overheard a conversation this morning with one of the team members doing exactly that. We're already planning for the end of May, but I got maybe two things that could push into June. So we're here at the end of April. I want to know that today instead of waiting until a week before and having any issues. So just constantly looking out like 45 to 60 days and planning for cash. And if you have enough projects going and good projects and you're controlling the controllables, we stick to budgets, we're constantly going over P&Ls, you can do that pretty well. And there's some technology out there today that helps with that. Yeah. But having a good team and systems and processes to where every single day we're able to look at it.
So what's your team consist of today?
Yeah, so I would say today the team consists of really it's a small team, and we've got two individuals that help with kind of all things administrative when it comes to permitting, planning, also building the budgets, controlling the budgets, reviewing the budgets, weekly payables, matching up payables with the budgets, what we're paying where, and then I've got a individual that is working on all things acquisitions. So kind of running out in front, making sure that we have enough places to go build. And then one that handles all the day-to-day construction.
Yeah.
And
And that's your weekly or monthly payroll.
That's correct.
That's all on staff.
Yeah, that's correct. So really, and I at the pace that we're going right now, there's a few things that I'm going to be introducing in the next couple of weeks to a month that we're about to branch out into and kind of launch another revenue channel. So that will change slightly, but as a whole, that's the crew. And I like to keep it small. I like to keep it intimate where we get each other's backs when someone needs, lifted up. We're very open and transparent with each other. We know that, we all try and show up 100% every day, but maybe someone won't. And so we back that person up. And it really, really, truly is a kind of a family atmosphere.
So you're about to sell this development project, and it's going to sell in about 45 to 60 days?
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
There'll be a couple takedowns, but the first one will be in 45 to 60.
Gotcha. So what else do you have going on right now, and what's on the horizon? What's on the immediate horizon for you?
Yeah, so I'd say right now, really just trying to focus in on coming out of the ground on more new construction, purpose-built rentals. That's really kind of always been, our down the fairway for us. So I've got a couple of sites that we're looking at that are larger sites, small to medium-sized sites that can be subdivided, and then about a dozen scattered lots that we're going through due diligence on right now. We have got a few other projects that are in early stage due diligence. I've got another development that would be about the same size of the one that we just left. Possibly may even get it under contract next week. I'm pretty far down the road in verbal negotiations, just hadn't papered anything up. got a site with some climate controlled storage. That would be a pretty unique opportunity. And then also a space that we have ventured into is light industrial flex. So really kind of infill areas around interstate access to residential areas that need really kind of 1,500 to 2,000 square foot bays for service industry contractors. So looking at a few sites right now on developing light industrial flex.
Gotcha.
But that falls right into really kind of the big goal of a light industrial flex space is just like a rental home or a rental community. So the asset, even though it's a slightly different asset class, the underwriting and the goal is still the same.
Cash flow.
Cash flow. And so it's just a diversification play. And I believe there's a pretty good runway on that.
And so a lot of these developmental projects, some you're going to sell, some you're going to try to, you mentioned like build to rent. So some you're going to try to keep. What is there a certain percentage or certain kind of parameters there that you like to see? So many that you sell, so many that you keep?
Yeah, I'd say I'm really kind of in the process of figuring that out right now. As I'd mentioned, when we first started, we just started building and then we started selling, and we looked up in 2, 3, 4 years down the road and we sold everything we built. So I'm probably at that point right now where I'm getting more defined in what that looks like. Again, I have that clear goal in the future and it's written down. I just don't necessarily know at what pace I'm going to get there right now. And so probably if we had this conversation in 12 months or so, I would have a pretty clear plan on keep a third, sell 2/3, keep half, sell half. But right now it's a work in progress. My goals, I want to do projects that produce profits to stack cash to buy more income generating assets. And at some point in time, in about year 4 from now, that momentum will really pick up and that will start compounding.
How do you structure something like that with a money partner? How do you structure a deal that you want to actually keep down the road? Will you keep it in the partnership?
Yeah, the best way to structure that, and again, my first deal I did, pretty sure it was written on a napkin. I mean, it was about as basic as it gets, and all I knew to do was just to split. Hey, you put in the money, I do the work, let's just split it. And I do believe in 50-50 partnerships. We talked about that earlier because I believe you got to be evenly yoked in something. But if it's just a money partner, I have a kind of prearranged GP-LP split. So I would be the general partner on the GP side for actually doing the work. And then the LP sponsor would be limited and only putting in the cash. And so that is really kind of like hey, if someone wants to put in cash, here's the split. Not really a lot of negotiating around it. And then there's triggers within the operating agreement if that person wants their cash out or if something changes in someone's, life, that you can hit a button and, have a liquidity event. But the GP LP structure that's pretty much done in like private equity, that's what I follow.
Why is that? Why do you follow it that way?
It just seems to be simple. I mean, it doesn't overcomplicate it. A lot of your partners that are LP partners, they're brilliant. They're brilliant individuals in their own space. That's how they've created the wealth they've created. But what I've learned is if you can create less moving parts and less things to solve, really the better the relationship is. They're just happy with a place to put money. So if I have too many decisions or like this partnership's done this way and this partnership's done that way, number one, it's just more things for me to keep up with. But number two, what if one individual wants to come into 3 different deals? I want to keep all the structure the same. So we just basically kind of take the GP-LP structure that's done in private equity across the GP-LP scope. Doesn't matter if it's houses or buying businesses, and we have a prearranged split. You could have some slight changes within that, but that's all.
It's interesting you structure it that way, and I love it. I think a lot of folks who are kind of getting started, all they know is to go out and get a loan, right?
Yeah.
Go out and get a mortgage. What kind of made you decide to do it that way, your way, like the equity partner position?
I'll say this. I mean, your equity partners are going to be way more flexible than debt partners. Debt partners, that all they care about is the terms of that loan. And that is a really big deal for people to think about. Now, you want to have debt partners, and a debt partner is a bank. I mean, I look at banks as a partner, but they're a debt partner. That's different than an equity partner. An equity partner is going to be extremely flexible. So you go to your debt partner and you say, hey, this project's going to take a lot longer and cost a lot more. And they say, well, what are you going to do about that? You go to your equity partner and you say this project's going to take a lot longer and cost a lot more. They say, well, what are we going to do about it? So to me, you have flexibility in an equity partner. There needs to be a blend, and over time and the evolution that I'm in right now of stacking cash, maybe moving a little bit away from equity partners into more of my own equity and debt, you can offset some of that risk. But I'd say in the beginning, you could really be shooting yourself in the foot and not knowing it by doing all debt and not equity.
So equity, you're going to get a little bit less piece of the pie, but you've kind of spread out the risk.
That's right. You spread out the risk, and so when something happens, which will, you're going to that partner and you're solving it together, instead of going to your lender and they're saying, hey, your payment's due in 2 weeks. So it's just a different scenario.
It's good stuff. Jimmy, thank you so much. I know I've kind of peppered you with a lot
of... it's good, man.
Going a lot of different directions, but I really appreciate getting to know you. And I think our audience is appreciative too. So got to go to down to Childersburg and learn a lot about a development project you're doing, and then learn about what you're doing.
The big metropolis of Childersburg.
That's right.
So that was fun, and I would love to connect with anyone. Reach out.
Jimmy,
I appreciate the time.
Yeah, Jimmy, I'll put all of your any contact information you want to give me. I'll put it down in the description. So if you want to get a hold of Jimmy here in the greater Birmingham area,
you
can do it. Thanks, Jimmy.
All right, thank you.
All right.